Welcome to this quick video. If you need to convince yourself, your heart is saying no. So this is the principle of today. What does this mean? Well, let me actually put it like this. This is a very old, ancient painting or drawing or like story of a guy, I don't even know who was faced with a decision. So this is going to apply specifically to decisions, but also to goals, habits, and preferences. Because that's something you have to decide, of course, to follow. Like, what goal are you going to, what's the word I was looking for? Pursue. What goal are you going to pursue? What habits are you going to build? What are your preferences? So this person was faced with a decision, and as I'm sure you probably can guess, one of them is the devil, one of them is the angel. Now, I definitely want to preface this with the warning that there is no devil or angel in decision making. It's just more beneficial for you, less beneficial for you. So essentially the devil is easily recognizable, because what the devil does, and if you remember the starting point of this video, if you need to convince yourself, then the heart is actually saying no. So the mind, what it is going to try to do is convince you that you should follow a goal or that you should have a specific habit or preference. For example, if you think about starting a business, then if the reason that you want to start this business is because you want to make money with the business, then if you have to tell yourself that, it is not your true goal. So what I mean is, imagine that you are like thinking about starting a business and you're kind of on the edge, but you're thinking if you should do it or not. And the only reason that you would do it is because you think that your mind is telling you we should do this because it makes us money. So that's kind of the thought that makes you doubt whether this is a good decision. Now, pay very close attention to these, like you could say, reasonings that the mind uses. Because the word, especially the word because, which makes it a bit tricky if I'm talking about it, indicates that there is conviction necessary to pursue the goal. So what I mean is, some of these things on the right, like this person is wealthy and famous, so we need to become friends with them. If you don't have a true desire to become friends with someone, then you don't need to convince yourself to become friends with them. I'm sure that you have experienced this once in your life, like there's perhaps a person that's quite famous, and the only reason that you want to get in contact with this person is because, keep in mind again the word because, they are wealthy and famous, so then you think as well you can get wealthy and famous. So really the entire takeaway of this is that if you need to give yourself a reason to do something, it's most likely not a true goal or desire. Now, there's some exceptions to this, of course, but another one is, imagine how proud your parents will be. So if you have the goal of retiring your parents, I'm sorry to say, but it's probably not your true goal to retire your parents, because it's always for a reason. It's always because you want to give back, or it's always because you think they'll be proud. So it might be painful to accept that, but it is the truth. And obviously it's an option. You can follow the goal of the mind, but as you will see in a second, it's not the most optimal. Or lastly, this is already proven to work, so it's the best decision. Basically any type of reason that the mind uses to convince you to follow something, if that's necessary. So if it's not necessary, if you don't need a reason, then it's true. But if you like almost have to do it because of the reason and no other reason, then it's not a true goal. So let me actually skip to the heart. So the heart is not going to say anything, because the heart can't really speak in words or thoughts. But the heart doesn't have any reasons, because the heart doesn't even know what a reason is. It just feels and knows, which is also why when something is truly yours, you don't need to convince yourself, because the heart just feels and knows. It doesn't need reason. And this is huge for goals. Like, I'm going to give you some action items at the end of this video, but truly what I found myself is that the biggest indicator in you not only having a bigger chance of achieving the goal, if at all, because like sometimes with the goals of the mind, it's like you think that you're actually achieving something, but either it's going to be very hard, you're going to have to struggle and work very hard, or it's not even going to happen. So it's like an illusion almost, and that's painful. So it's very important to get this right. and it's huge for goals. It's also huge for preferences. So even like things like music, even things like sports, like exercise, when you start to become aware of this difference, of this dichotomy between the heart's goals and preferences and the mind's goals and preferences, you're going to see this everywhere. So with your exercise, with your diet, like, are you following this diet because you tell yourself you need to follow it because of someone else, or are you following it because you just feel and know you should follow it? It's like a difference. And also habits. So I'm talking specifically about like scheduled habits, but also like unconscious habits. So I don't know, like the first thing I see is like feed, or maybe like feeding yourself with chocolate at a certain time of the day. If that feels like something you have to convince yourself to do, then it's actually you could say a reason of the mind. Now, funnily enough, with chocolate, I do want to give a little preface to this, because I personally love chocolate. So whenever I am going to like buy chocolate, which is usually quite dark, like 70%, I just enjoy eating it. I don't need to like explain like because I want the like specific nutrients that come with this. No, I just enjoy it. That's true for me. I don't know why, but it is. So yeah, you can have these exceptions. Like, don't be afraid to really look into your own heart and see kind of what are your true goals, preferences, and habits. But anyway, mistaking the mind's persuasive words for the call of the heart is one of the most important things to avoid. Probably because without the heart, there is no passion, there is no life force, there is no creative energy, and that gets very limited results. So another thing you have to know about the mind, which I might cover, or about the heart, sorry, which I might cover, is that the heart creates always from, it doesn't use anything to create anything new. The mind, on the other hand, is going to use old things to create new things. This is why everyone in art and business and music that copies others gets no results. The true people, if you really look at the top people or the successful people, the people that get success effortlessly, they don't copy other people, because that just gets very limited results because of the energy that's behind it, because there is no energy behind it. Everything that's done with heart, with soul, with power, as I would like to call it, that is what is successful, because it's done with the heart, because there is this creative energy, there is this life force energy. If the heart is not involved, then you just have to rely on the energy of the mind, which is limited. Like, the physical energy that the mind uses to operate is limited. So if you really want to go beyond and want to create new things, you want to achieve your goals, like actually achieve them, then I definitely would recommend taking some time out to understand this difference in your own life. Or worse, the goal doesn't even get results at all, or like the goal doesn't even get achieved, or you don't get any results at all. This is something that can happen. Like, if you genuinely have been trying to follow a goal for like maybe a couple of months, like 6 months to a year, depending on how big the goal is, of course, but I'm sure you can make your own educated decision. Then if you are not seeing results at all and you're doing what's required, you are you're not essentially being super lazy, then I don't see any reason why you would not get results. So it's definitely worth seeing, like, hey, this is potentially a goal of the mind. Do I have to convince myself? Okay, yes, I do. Perhaps it's not a goal of my heart. Perhaps I should look for something else. And as I think as a point, I also put it here, you could be chasing goals and dreams your entire life without being aware that they are goals of the mind, not the heart. And this is painful. Like, imagine that you have been trying to build this business for 2 years in the same way, and then you realize you have to continuously convince yourself, I should build this business because I've already been doing it for so long, because this niche is proven to work, because this business model is perfect for me. Like, just the act of convincing yourself is not necessary with a goal of the heart. Therefore, you either circle hard or achieve nothing, which is not what we want. Now, on the other hand, on the positive side, following the heart is much easier, much more fun, and makes the goal much easier to achieve. So really, spend time right now and from time to time in the future evaluating your motivation for goals, habits, and preferences. Do this by listing your goals and habits. Then ask yourself, does this feel like a burden or pleasure? So you will know And the reason this is a simple question, and the one below it as well, do I have to convince myself to do or achieve it? The reason these are simple questions is because it is simple. Like, if you have to convince yourself, like the simple answer is it's not your hard goal. Like, it doesn't need to be complicated. You just have to see if this is true. And even seeing this should be quite easy. Does this feel like a burden or pleasure? Should also be quite easy. Because there might be like a false sense of pleasure that you get with certain things. But what I'm talking about is really like the goals and the habits. Like, obviously you can extend this to so many things, but the main thing is your main goals in life, like making the differentiation between, are they your heart's goals or are they your mind's goals? Okay? Then what you want to do is drop this goal or habit, even if it feels scary, because that's just the mind holding on. The mind is going to try to convince you, once again, the same pattern repeats itself. The mind is going to try to convince you should hold on to the goal because you have been working on it for so long, because, I don't know, if you quit now, then people are going to see you as a failure. Like, it depends, of course. But if the goal is truly yours, you shouldn't need to really convince yourself to like work on it. And if the goal is not truly yours, you shouldn't have to convince yourself to drop it either, if that makes sense. So all of these things come into play, but I'm sure you do get the point of this. If you don't, please ask questions in the community or wherever you're watching this. And then what you want to do is make the bold decision to follow your heart. It's the most rewarding path. It might seem crazy. You might make a mistake, like for example, you drop a goal because you thought it was the mind's goal. Maybe that was true, but then you move to another mind's goal. And then you mistakenly thought you were following the heart, but you were actually following another mind goal. That's completely fine. At least if you make the decision to follow your heart, eventually you're going to align yourself. That's when things are going to start to become easy, fun. That's when the creative life force energy is going to appear, and when you're going to be able to create great results and the life you want. And it's not like some like dull pitch on how to build your dream life using X and X strategy, because there is no strategy that one can copy and paste to achieve true success. This is why this works, and this is why rarely people talk about this, because the people that know this, like, they know that this is the stuff you need to do. I'm even tripping over my words a little bit, but I hope you can excuse me with that one. So yeah, that is essentially the point of this video. Do this now, so actually take action on this and ask yourself for each of your goals and habits, does this feel like a burden or pleasure? Do I have to convince myself to do or achieve this? And then I hope you get an insight from this. If you do, let it know in the community or wherever you're watching this once again. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next